Right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to your weekly tour around your celestial neighborhood. I'm Irene Pease, your friendly neighborhood astronomer, and I'm just really excited to escape the Earth for a few minutes tonight. Been doing this for about 8 months, and really, this is kind of like my weekly escape from our shared reality that's been kind of a hellscape. So, tonight, we were looking for some evil robots at the request of Brian Levine. And sorry, Brian, I'm fed up with the evil. We're going to go with good robots. I'll try to dig up some evil robots maybe another time when I'm feeling, a little more upbeat. So, I'm going to be a little punchy tonight, just a heads up. But yeah, so we'll start off checking out our night sky, see what's interesting in the sky this week, what to be looking for, and then we'll pop back over to open space. Again, for visuals, I'm usually using Stellarium, which we'll switch to in a minute, and open space, which you see in the background right now. Pretty excited. I downloaded the newest version of open space, and I've been tinkering around with that. Haven't mastered it yet, so I'm running the older version tonight, but looking forward to some of the really cool features that they have in the newest beta. So without further ado, let's skip on over and see what's happening in the night skies. So again, this is the beautiful view from Brooklyn, snow-capped mountains, wide open spaces. The sun set a little bit ago, so this is kind of in the past, so we can speed up to now. There's past now, there's even more past now. Skip ahead to the future, which will be cheery and bright, and some familiar looking things in the sky. So I did want to talk about this constellation, this group of stars, and make some comments about it and start using that to find some other exciting things that are in our winter sky. So a couple weeks ago, I talked about the winter sky. Feels like forever ago now. It was way back in December 2020. And I think I mentioned there's a lot of cool clusters up here. So just taking a little bit closer look on where to find those this week, as we have like a really nice moon phase coming up. So a lot of people are already familiar with the constellation Orion. There's a little stick figure to help. It's kind of interesting. I always thought it was odd. He has like this really little head, and I realized this week it looks like, I think it's the Iron Giant, right? So he's got like these big, like wide shoulders, a little itty bitty head. Like I was seeing it kind of look a little weird. Anyway, so that's the constellation Orion, the Hunter, right? So he's got these shoulder stars. Betelgeuse is literally the giant's armpit. That's an armpit. So would you say it's the Iron Giant's armpit? If you don't see like a person, just see like Iron Giant up there. And he's got this belt, really fashionable belt, and he's got feetsies, and we're going to use the stars in the belt. And if you follow those down, it comes to the dog star Sirius. So Sirius, brightest star in the night sky. So that's loads of fun. And I was really excited to talk about Sirius and its constellation, Canis Major. You can see that's a dog, so it's a good boy. So as I'm doing my doom scrolling through Twitter, I try to take a break and just jump over to We Rate Dogs and all the good boys and good girls on We Rate Dogs, because they're all good. So there's a good boy in the sky, and there's another little good boy. This good boy looks a little bit different from this good boy. This one looks like a husky, or I don't know. So there's two of them up there, and if you can find, again, let me kind of turn some of the stuff off. If you can use those belt stars and Orion, again, they point right down towards the really bright. It's really bright. It's the brightest thing in that part of the sky. You literally can't miss it unless there's a plane coming in that direction. The planes are going to blink and move over time. Sirius will blink and move a lot. Well, it'll twinkle. It'll move a lot more slowly. So from Betelgeuse to Sirius, it kind of forms this equilateral triangle with the star over here, Procyon, which is the bright star in Canis Minor, the little good dog. So we have a big good dog, we have the little good dog, a couple dogs up there. The little good dog doesn't really look much like a dog. It's like a hot dog, but we'll just say he's a good boy, really good boy, just lying down there, good boy. And then between them, between the, like kind of through this triangle, we have the winter Milky Way, which you're not going to see unless you're in a really dark site. Definitely don't see that from Brooklyn, but hoping to head upstate this weekend and catch a glimpse of a little bit of winter Milky Way and all the pretty star clusters that are in there. So that's your little homework assignment if you're doing observing. Homework assignment for this week: look for the triangle, and if you can see the Milky Way, scan that part of the sky, naked eye and/or binoculars, and see if you can see some of the pretty sparkly things. And of course, because we're talking about Robot Planet tonight, Mars is out. So Mars is going to be out. Again, this time is set for about 10 o'clock at night. So Mars is going to be getting kind of high towards the southwest. It's very high earlier in the evening. If I kind of scroll back through time, back around sunset, so early now. So by 6 o'clock, it's pretty high in the sky, and then it'll be moving more towards the west as the evening goes on. So Mars is still relatively bright up there. It's going to be the brightest thing in that part of the sky. And you notice there's a little sign that says Uranus up here. Yeah, I'm going to get to that. I'm going to complain about that maybe next week or the week after when I have more time. So there is going to be kind of a little planetary conjunction, but the moon kind of spoils it. So, spoiler alert, the moon's going to spoil it. Or maybe it just makes it prettier. I don't know. I think it just makes it harder to see Uranus, but we could talk about that later. Let's move on to Mars and all the rad robots that we see at Mars. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Stellarium. So back to our open space. Mars. That's not Mars. This is the Earth. And the Earth, as we know, is inhabited by people and other things, mostly bugs. I think it's like the bug planet as far as population goes. I mean, you're mostly bacteria anyway. So, but yeah, for like multicellular life, I think we're going with bugs. Or maybe it's just animals. I don't remember. But we also have a lot of robots. We have robots in our skies, kind of, sort of. So these are some of the brightest satellites that are zipping around in our skies. And that's what I kind of want to start off talking about with Mars, except I don't have all the satellite orbits set for Mars, but they're there. So I'm gonna kind of fake it like you do. But yeah, so Mars doesn't have quite this many satellites, but it has several. And this is I'm only talking about stuff that's at Mars right now. So like forget the stuff that's on its way to Mars and the stuff that's been to Mars, the stuff that's dead on Mars, the defunct satellites and robots and robot graveyard thing. We're just gonna go with what's actually active on Mars right now, and I'm probably gonna run out of time because I tried practicing this earlier and it took like forever. So I'll just stop at some point. All right, so onward to the Mars, the red planet. Thanks, Brian, for the red button. Yes, red planet, Mars. There she is. Glorious. So nice. All right, so what's happening around Mars? So Mars, we have known a little bit about. We had a few things fly past Mars in the past, but I guess I don't really have time to talk about that stuff. So I'm just going to kind of let this rotate, and we're going to go through a little bit of history, some of our Mars orbiters that are still there. So the longest running Mars mission, I think I have it. Yeah, that's the one. That is Mars Odyssey, which was partly built at my alma mater. A lot of these were because they built a lot of stuff at the U of A. Anyway, bear down, y'all. So Odyssey was launched back in 2001. So it's been there for almost 20 years. Like, that's pretty exciting. There was actually just a huge article about it in Astronomy Magazine and like how they want to defund it because of budget cuts and blah, blah, blah. But they totally shouldn't, because it's awesome, because it's already there and it's still good to go for quite a while yet. You can see it's got a bunch of stuff sticking off of it. Don't ask me like what all is what, but I know it has a bunch of cool stuff. It has the Themis instrument that we have been using to map things that actually maps. I think that's in the infrared. And I think I even have, I was going to do the the thing where I actually show you what I'm looking at and all the menus and things in open space, but then I forgot and I was like, it's kind of a lot. So, but we actually have some layers of Mars. Pretty sure that's the one. Yeah. It's infrared. So I'll just go ahead and turn one of these on. There's infrared day and there's infrared night. Actually, I'm going to do this Utah one. So again, open space, this is like free, basically open source software. You can download it for free, openspaceproject.com. Again, the newest beta is out, so check that out. It's a lot of fun, but it's all real data that's like been loaded in here. And I just loaded in these images because I don't have like images of all the little satellites and things. But yeah, this has been the longest running mission at Mars. It's basically mapped a bunch of the water that's below the surface, and it's been used to select landing sites for other things that you've probably heard of, like Insight and Curiosity, which we'll get to in a little bit, I hope. So basically, yeah, it does mapping. It's done some other things, but that's like kind of like a huge thing that it's done. So I forgot to turn off the other one. So if I turn those off, so this is one of its maps coming up right now. So we can like colorize it and everything, but that's like the daytime infrared map. So we could learn about like the meteorology and some other stuff in addition to getting like really cool maps of Mars. So Odyssey, awesome. Hope it gets to keep going. So that was 2001 and it's still going. Not long after, 2003, was an ESA mission, Mars Express. And I actually don't have the image for that one in here. That one they called Mars Express partly because they built it really fast and everything. But then also it took like the shortest amount of time to actually get to Mars, because if you recall, like 2003, 2004, that was like the super, super close pass of Mars. So Mars was like really huge back then. So that was pretty exciting. So it was the first ESA planetary mission and pretty successful. Mars Express, again, it's still there. So it's still going around mapping all the fun things. That's not a Mars Express map. It does have a comm system. So we're able to like use it to communicate with landers and other things that we sent. So of course, that's really important. It was able to map Mars to 2-meter resolution, which is pretty impressive, and basically looked a lot at the atmosphere and the kind of the interface between the atmosphere and the solar wind. So you're going to see that's kind of a common theme, because a lot of this is kind of like looking towards eventually putting people on Mars, and are we going to be protected from solar radiation? Because that's kind of an issue, in addition to finding water and interesting minerals and things. So Express, and then just 2 years later, we have MRO, the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. Super great. All right. So MRO still going around. And I forgot to mention, I'm pretty sure most of these are of like kind of polar orbit. So instead of like going roundy like this, they go around it like around the poles, so that as the planet turns beneath them, they can, map like the entire thing. So MRO has some of the best mappings, and we have them both in open space. So there's the CTX, the context camera that mapped to like 30-meter resolution for like the entire planet, and we're going to see a little bit of the CTX map in a bit. So if you look at this, like this looks really cool, but we'll zoom in when we'll do like an Insight landing and the Curiosity landing sites, and you'll see like the CTX, the 6-meter, and then also HiRISE, which is the best map of Mars that we have. And I'm just going to turn these on so you can kind of see the patches. HiRISE is another camera, part of MRO, and that mapped to 25-centimeter resolution. So like, if my computer were sitting on Mars, like Insight would have seen it there. And as I turn on some of these data sets, they might just take forever to load because it's a lot of data, and I don't load everything in advance. But you'll see there's like little patches. Like I think you can see a little patch over here. If I turn on, I just have the local sets here. Oops. Yeah. So hopefully I have all the sets I need. So they're not even like that complete. So again, since I'm running the older version of OpenSpace, there's not as many of these little tiny little patches. You can see one right here. In the newer version, they have like a whole bunch more loaded in. So it just takes a lot of time for people to process and then like stitch them on to the correct positions and everything so they line up in the right spots on Mars. So that's kind of like a programming thing that I don't know as much about. I just like playing with it. So MRO, super awesome. That's been there for like the last 15 plus years. And then I forgot to write down the dates for these two, but I think it was like 2013-ish. 13, 15, I think I'm going to say it's 15. We had two others that launched it right around the same time, November. And those, I think I have pictures of those. I click. Nope. Other one. Nope. 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 That one. Yeah. All right. Here we go. Is that MRO? Wait. So that was now I'm all confused. All right. So if I had these in order. That's MOM. MOM. So that's the Mars orbiter mission that was sent out there by the Indian Space Research Organization. So that was India was the first Asian nation to reach Mars orbit. And this thing they sent out did a ton of stuff. It looked at morphology, topology, mineralogy. It looked at the atmosphere, had a thermal infrared camera as well as color cameras, and did a whole bunch of science with the atmosphere. So that was like just kind of impressive, like suite of instruments. I basically in my side notes I've been like it basically did everything. So I don't know the resolution for the cameras, but I mean if you look that thing, it's just like covered, like it has all the things on it. So that was pretty impressive. And then coming back here, Maven, yeah, that should be Maven. Yeah, November 2013. So these both launched 2013 and got there about 6 months later. So this one took a lot closer look at like the solar winds and ions and atoms and stuff. Has kind of an interesting, I don't know, like the configuration of its little thing is like a little antenna. So most of these, you know, we're able to do some communications for like the landers that were already there. And then also collect more data, continue mapping, continue learning more about the atmosphere, more about the mineralogy, and selecting landing sites. So the last orbiter there, yeah, this last orbiter, ExoMars. So ExoMars was like a whole mission. So this isn't all of ExoMars really. It's kind of like exo as in like exobiology. So this is like an astrobiology mission. At least it was supposed to be. So this is like another ESA mission. So the Trace Gas Orbiter, which you see here, that was highly successful, and it's been mapping methane and just learning more about the atmosphere, trace gases in the atmosphere specifically, hence TGO, the Trace Gas Orbiter. But there was another component of the mission, and we flew away from it now. There was actually a lander that was supposed to be part of this. So a lot of times, if you read about the upcoming missions, the missions that are on their way to Mars now, like they might have multiple components, like have an orbiter and a lander and a rover, you know, some combination. Like China's just doing everything all at once, which is like really awesome. So with this one, the lander was supposed to land in Scaparelli Crater, which it didn't so much land. It got to the surface, just, you know, not as planned. So I think we actually have, yeah, there's Scaparelli Crater up here. So there's like some smashed robot bits in there somewhere. But the mission is to be continued. And they just had to postpone in 2020 because they had some other issues. It wasn't pandemic as far as I can tell. But in 2022, they do plan to launch I think it's the Rosalind Franklin rover. So more bio stuff and Rosalind Franklin on Mars, which is pretty awesome. So take that, Watson and Crick. Anyway, that's it for the orbiter. So all those things roving around, taking up space, taking pictures, spying on all of the rocks and things that are on Mars. So there's a lot of extinct, dead, expired robots. Some that crashed and were, less than successful, like the one that crashed in the Scaparelli Crater. And then there were some that were more successful. So to save time, because I knew I'd be running out of time, I went ahead and made little bookmarks like you can in open space. And we're going to go ahead and check out the InSight landing. So here's bookmark number 1. Boom. It's not cheating if you actually did the work to prepare. So here we're looking at Planitia, one of the, I want to say Utopia Planitia, I believe. And actually, InSight and Curiosity landed in similar spots. You can already start to see some of the patches from the high-rise set. And then down here, we're going to be looking down here. This is Gale Crater, where Curiosity landed. But first, let's go ahead and check out InSight. And there's actually a program in here. I'm not going to run through it, but if you download OpenSpace, you can like go through the whole flight path and everything. But I figured I'd be doing good just to kind of find the thing and land here. So again, these strips, these are just pieces of, it's a full map. It's just a lot of data to load in. So I'm just going to kind of take my sweet time, I guess, getting down here. A lot of data. So again, this is the 25 centimeter resolution high rise data that we're coming into. And I practiced earlier identifying some of the bits and pieces from the InSight mission. So InSight was a lander, so it doesn't like go running around. So that's the easy part of this one. Couldn't have gone too far, but and you can actually see in here, because again, it hasn't gone very far, some of the other bits and pieces of it, and I wasn't supposed to move it, but I did. So I think I'm still looking at the same spot. Pretty sure I'm still looking at the same spot. I'm not still looking at the same spot. Spot's up here. Yeah. All right. So I think this is a spot up here. Yeah, I see it. All right. So kind of in between these two craters and then just down a little bit. So actually up in here, as we move in, kind of fly in a little bit, and I'll try to adjust this. Up over here, kind of on the rim of this crater, I think that was the heat shield. And then we have part of the parachute was down some of this mess over here. There was a bit of mess over there that was like the parachute. And then the actual bit, the actual machine that's sitting there poking into the planet and listening with its ear to the ground, more or less, is one of the little dots in here. I want to say it's a little dot up here. So it's above, that's a crater, and up in here somewhere, as we get a little bit closer, there's another little black dot. That's going to be InSight. So InSight had some pretty interesting instruments that we hadn't sent to Mars before, because it's not like it's the first time we sent something to Mars, right? So we've had a couple of rovers and other landers and stuff there before. So we're landing in basically this ancient ocean bed. And I think it's kind of similar to kind of near where the Chinese are planning to land their mission next month. More on that. I'll figure that one out next month. Yeah, but I think we're seeing, I don't remember which one of these dots it is. It's one of these dots. So if you look at all these little black dots, one of them, as the data continues to load in, one of them is InSight. So I'll go ahead and just turn on my picture of InSight. There it is. That's big InSight. All right. So it's, not to scale. So one, it has like these really cute, like, I don't even know, like I haven't really seen a lot of missions that have like their little solar panels stuck out. Like I just want to like clap them together overhead or something. It's just kind of cute. Anyway, so it deployed a couple instruments you see here. This is our seismometer. And so it's been listening to Mars quakety quaking. And it turns out Mars has quite a few quakes. They're not very strong. So none of them have been more than, I think they said the strongest one was like a 3.7. So yeah, listening to Mars and all its ringing and shaking and things. Some interesting things. It doesn't seem to have as many quakes during like the windy season. And also it doesn't seem to have the surface waves. So hopefully that's telling us a little bit about the interior of Mars. Like that's kind of how we learn about the interior of Earth by studying earthquakes and the seismic waves that they generate. We can learn about, that's how we figured out like the layers of the Earth. So that's kind of helping us learn more about the layers of Mars. And also, I'm like, this is like, you want to talk about probes. This thing is a probe. It's a lander, but really it's probing Mars, like that kind of probing. So this little guy, this is our little a thermal probe, so a radiometer and heat probe. And so that burrows down into the ground. So it was designed to go down about 5 meters. So it's like this little thing, and it drills down, and then it takes a temperature, and then it drills some more, temperature, drills, temperature. And so it drills down and taking temperature like every 10 centimeters. So we have kind of a profile of the heat as you drill down into Mars. So I think that's the deepest we've drilled into Mars because nothing else is really drilling so much per se. Phoenix landers, similar solar panels. I remember seeing a Phoenix, yeah, they had it off to the side. And I actually got to see a model of that before they sent the thing into space, which was kind of cool because again, it was at my alma mater at the U of A, so they had the thing. But yeah. And do we see the little dot now? Can I see where the oh, I drifted downward. Let me see where the little dot went. And it might not be, you know what? Okay. So there was a dot, I promise, and there was a parachute. And if you poke around in open space, you can find all that cool stuff. So again, it's like you kind of see from the view from space and you're like, wow, that's such an awesome map of Mars. And it is. And then you zoom in to like the CTX data and you're like, wow, that's an even more awesome map of Mars. And you turn on the inside and it's like my mind is blown. And I'm not even using the height maps, which I'll use another time. But I did want to go ahead and just use my little cheat sheet here to go to the other landing site. I think there's a typo there, but that should be it. Yeah, that's the one. All right. So MSL, the Mars Science Lab. So Curiosity isn't just a rover. It's kind of a tank and a little science lab. It's a miniature science lab in a tank. That's basically what we sent to Mars. And this this one had probably the most intricate landing sequence. That was 7 minutes of terror that it took to enter the atmosphere and deploy its parachute and then use the sky crane to lower it down and all this whatnot is just kind of like, But actually, if I turn on, so I'm actually going to turn off. So you're seeing the high rise there now. I'm actually going to turn on the CTX. I meant to do that earlier. Because in the CTX, the data is a little bit older. So it'll load. It gets better, I promise. I'll just go ahead and turn on the cute picture for now while the data's loading. But because you can actually still see the sky crane and I think the heat shield or something. So if we come back, go down, over, down, over, there it is. All right. So there's Mars Science Laboratory. Again, it has like a little laser. It has like a little chemical lab. It's a little lab, but it's kind of a tank. It has these huge wheels, and some of them actually have like dash things. So like as it rolls along, it leaves its name in the sand. And I spent way too much time today like trying to trace through the path of it. I couldn't find the tracks, but but I did realize when I turned off the high rise and I just left the CTX data on that I could actually see the leftovers of the landing site. So that's kind of just the last thing I wanted to look at today. So the next again, this location was basically picked out using data from Odyssey and some of these other maps that we got from MRO. It's coming in. We're getting there. If you see if you see some robot wreckage, just holler and point because it's there. Because again, you have the sky crane, right? But it couldn't like because it had like a jetpack to like lower it down, but then you didn't want to get like all the dust and gunk up in you. So then it has a sky crane to like lower it the rest of the way. And I'm seeing. Am I seeing a blur there? That blur might be it. I'm gonna give it another minute to load in. But yeah, so I think I don't know if they're gonna try something similar for this next round. Just the whole sky crane thing. My favorite landing sequence for some of the past missions, of course, was the bunch of grapes. I think the bunch of grapes is the cutest, the cutest one, and I'm pretty sure this blob is our sky crane. I really want to see the sky crane. Because I have to say, like, I'd been looking and looking earlier today, and then like I finally found it, and I was like, oh my goodness, there it is, sky crane. But yeah, so the Optimus Prime, yeah, Optimus Prime, that was back. That was friendly Iron Giant thing. But yeah, the robots in the skies here. I used to think that they said robots in the skies and not robots in disguise. Like I don't know. I was a kid. But so because of the dust, I mean, there's so much dust that goes over this place. Mars is very dusty, and it has the dust storms, it has winds and stuff. And so a lot of the tracks and some of the evidence of like landing gear and stuff, it does get erased. So for now, I'm going to call that sky crane. And the other bit that really stuck out earlier, I'm not seeing. I think it was like further away down here. But we can go ahead and turn on I'll just go ahead and turn on the, oh, it's so pretty. I mean, isn't that gorgeous? Okay, tell me that's not gorgeous. So yeah, so basically came over here by this rabbit thing. That's the rabbit. Try and tell me that's not a rabbit sitting up on its back legs. Okay, so it basically came over here above the rabbit and then kind of struggled along. If we turn on the high rise, that's still kind of in there, along kind of the edge of this very odd crater that we kind of saw before from a little ways up. It has kind of this weird albedo, like the dark and light kind of streaks out of it. So just kind of coming along like this upper edge here. If I just kind of turn off the friction. So kind of trundling along the edge, up along here, through this plain plateauy thing, up to what I decided to call the zigzaggy lake. So if you zoom in a little bit there, it's got like, I don't know if it's actually a lake, but it has these like zigzags in it. So then kind of cut down and went around and said, ooh, this looks interesting. And then kind of came around and over by these buttes. So there's these really interesting buttes over here. Again, just really beautiful features. Probably took one of its selfies there. And then kind of headed down into the crater per se. So this is kind of up along the edge. And so the mineralogy, like they have mineral maps now of this. They probably had some before, which is why they picked this as a site. So that as it went kind of down into the crater past this whatnot, it was kind of going through these different layers. And then it came upon Vera Rubin Ridge. There she is. Dame Vera Rubin has a ridge on Mars. Kind of up along there. Checked out this stuff over here a little bit. Whoop. And then did I get lost? Yeah, no, I didn't get lost. Okay. And then kind of back over, check that stuff out. Check out, I don't know what it was looking at over there in that little corner. And then down into this kind of dark region. And so by now it's right about there. So again, I did look for it, but only for like 10 minutes because I already spent like 3 hours like poking around on Mars. And if I had time to spend like all day looking at Mars, probably would. But there's my cheat. Found it. So those are some of our friendly robots on Mars, and there's more on the way. In fact, if you want to learn more about those, there's a class for that. So as I've been doing some of these kind of shows about different missions, I've been learning myself because I wanted to learn myself, and also prepping for, I think that's the right link. I hope that's the right link. Prepping for a class that I've been wanting to teach for the Amateur Astronomers Association. So registration just opened. If you're interested, you could check it out. It's going to be about different missions. So some that I've already talked about. One that I'm going to do, I think, for my mission of month of January is going to be the Parker Solar Probe. So it'll be nice and sunshiny and bright and exciting and maybe a little bit hot and steamy. Well, not steamy, just hot. But that's what's coming up. So thanks everyone for joining me. I know, sorry, Brian, that the robots weren't evil, but I just couldn't handle that right now. So friendly robots for today, maybe some evil robots in the future, if you can help me find them. So, yeah. So thanks again, everyone, for joining, hanging out, checking out Mars like you do. Again, I'm Irene Pease, your friendly neighborhood astronomer. Thanks for the visuals. Stellarium, you can find Stellarium at stellarium.org. You can find Open Space at openspaceproject.com. And I just want to wish everyone a good evening, clear skies, be safe out there, and wear a mask.